Chapter 1. I awoke in a place entirely unfamiliar to me. It took me a half-hour to understand what had happened. I had been reborn into the body of Emily, the cemetery keeper. Lucas' beloved, Clara, lay buried in this cemetery. Clara had suffered from severe type 1 diabetes and needed a pancreas transplant to have any chance at survival, and I was the ideal donor for it. So Lucas confessed his love to me, proposed, and kept me by his side at all times. From start to finish, he only wanted my pancreas. He never truly loved me. When Clara was at her most critical point, needing the transplant, I accidentally overdosed on erythromycin and developed pancreatitis. In the end, Clara died from multiple complications. After Clara's death, Lucas lost his sanity. He locked me in a basement and tormented me day after day. I naively believed this was my punishment, my penance, for failing to save the one person Lucas loved above all else. Then one day, while visiting Clara's grave, Lucas was kidnapped by criminals. At last, I saw my chance to escape that prison. Hearing the kidnappers demand $1 million ransom, I foolishly gathered my savings and went alone, without a second thought. In the end, I died at the hands of the kidnappers. Emily, who tried to help me escape, was also left in a pool of blood. In this life reborn as her, I am in a way living again for both of us. Chapter 2. Today is March 7th. Tomorrow marks the first anniversary of Clara's death. In less than 24 hours, Lucas will come to visit her grave. A group of ruthless criminals has already set an ambush in the cemetery, waiting for him to walk into their trap. I switched shifts with my colleague Sam. In Emily's memories, Sam was greedy and often took advantage of her. So let him be the one to encounter the criminals. Even though Lucas betrayed me so deeply in our past life, I would still choose to save him from the kidnappers this time. I watched the cemetery surveillance video on my phone. 5 hours had passed since Lucas was kidnapped. The ransom hadn't been delivered. When the kidnappers called, there was no answer. Furious, they beat Lucas savagely. They even cut off his left pinky finger and sent it back to his family. Seeing Lucas curled up on the ground, bloodied and bruised, it was too similar to what I had endured in my past life. Whenever Lucas missed Clara, he would storm into the basement and whip me without mercy, until not a single patch of skin was left unmarked. I endured that pain for a year. Now it was Lucas' turn to experience it, but I wouldn't let him die so easily. What he owes me, I intend to reclaim myself. I dialed the police. Using Emily's knowledge of the cemetery's layout, I guided the police in time to rescue Lucas and Sam, who had been knocked unconscious by the criminals and was feigning death. The police arrested 10 criminals, all of whom had been wanted for murder. Their leader was notorious for the massacre of over a dozen people on a farm. I didn't need to wait for the trial to know their fate was sealed. This was closure for both my past self and Emily. Lucas was taken to the hospital. His life wasn't in danger, though he had lost a finger. I resigned from my job at the cemetery and stayed by Lucas' side, caring for him day and night. Lucas has always repaid his debts. Clara became his beloved because she had once saved him from bullies back in high school, and he loved her with unwavering devotion for 10 years. Now that I had saved his life, I wondered how he would choose to repay me. Chapter 3. Once Lucas' condition had somewhat improved, I accompanied him back home. We caught Sarah red-handed, attempting to transfer Lucas' assets. Sarah, Clara's younger sister, moved into the Guerrero household with her after the collapse of their family. Since she bore a slight resemblance to Clara, Lucas treated her exceptionally well. Even after Clara's passing, he continued to dote on her. She enjoyed golf, so Lucas set aside time every week to play with her. She wanted a job, so he assigned her to lead the beauty department at his company. All of this was something I, as Lucas' wife in my past life, was never deemed worthy of. But even with all this, Sarah still wasn't satisfied. It was she who leaked Lucas' whereabouts to the kidnappers from the mountain cemetery. She wanted more than just Lucas' love. She wanted his money too. "You treacherous woman! How dare you kick me while I'm down?" Lucas shouted, gripping Sarah's hair with a look of pure hatred. I watched coldly from the sidelines as they turned on each other. In my past life, Sarah had secretly added erythromycin to my medicine. Not only did this rid her of Clara, who occupied a place in Lucas' heart, It also made Lucas despise me. I won't stop my revenge on Lucas, but first I'll deal with Sarah. Lucas, I didn't do it, Sarah whimpered, pinned to the ground. Lucas had always been ruthless. If Sarah couldn't convince him, she might not survive the night. I only used your money to pay the ransom. Lucas, check it yourself. I really only spent $1 million. The investigation confirmed Sarah's statement. It seemed that, after learning the kidnappers had failed, Sarah had prepared for an alternative outcome. Perfect. I didn't want her to die so easily anyway. Mr. Lucas, I believe Miss Sarah is telling the truth. Please let her go, I interjected. Lucas admired compassionate people. My timely plea would not only avoid angering him but also improve his opinion of me. Lucas spared Sarah and allowed her to stay in the house. But a lingering distrust remained, and he no longer treated her with the same closeness. As his savior, I successfully took Sarah's place. Chapter 4. What used to be Sarah's role in Lucas' life now fell to me. From attending events to sharing his work responsibilities, I became his constant companion. Lucas even arranged for me to join the finance department at his company. Emily and I shared many commonalities. We both had a background in finance. I had spent 7 years studying finance and, after earning my master's degree, had become the youngest associate professor in my field. But when Lucas entered my life, I made the fateful decision to leave my career behind. I fell for his sweet words, deciding to become a full-time wife and support his ambitions. Little did I know, this marriage would be a carefully crafted trap from which I could not escape. For the past month, I had been at Lucas' side, yet he had not once mentioned Anna, even though I was his only legally registered wife. The guest room where I once stayed had been locked up. The only remnants of my previous existence were the bloodstains in the basement. Perhaps Lucas had never truly noticed my disappearance. Or perhaps he simply didn't care where I had gone. To him, I had already ceased to matter. The position of finance manager gave me the opportunity to investigate more thoroughly within Lucas' company. Ethan, the head of security, was a puppet placed by Sarah to keep watch over Lucas. Emboldened by his connection to his niece, he had abused his position for years. I collected evidence of Ethan's corruption and sent it straight to Lucas. Lucas fired Ethan, further sowing distrust between him and Sarah. Pitting them against each other? I could do it better than Sarah. It didn't take long for Sarah to learn that I was behind it all. She had Ethan ambush me one evening, capturing me on a street I frequented. In the dead of night, they abducted me and beat me senseless before locking me away in an abandoned warehouse. By the time Lucas arrived, I was barely clinging to consciousness. He found me just in time, rushing me to the hospital. Emily, I won't let anything happen to you. I had never seen this side of Lucas before. The man I knew was one who forced me to take medication or imprison me in that cold basement. But now it seemed that Lucas could care for someone. He had loved Clara, and now it appeared he cared for me too. Chapter 5. Sarah tried to shift the blame for the entire kidnapping incident onto Ethan. To allay Lucas' suspicions, she took it upon herself to care for me during my recovery. She made sure to attend to my every need, even going so far as to personally administer my medication. No matter how busy he was, Lucas always found time to check on me daily. Perhaps the loss of Clara had made him unusually attentive to my well-being. But despite his efforts, things did not unfold as he had hoped. A month later, though my injuries were healing, my blood sugar levels remained alarmingly high. Noticing something was amiss, Lucas insisted on a thorough examination of my diet and medications. It didn't take long for him to discover that the bitter medicine I had been taking had been swapped for prednisone pills. Long-term use of prednisone could induce diabetes. Sarah had been the one administering my medications. She was the only one with access to my medication, which made her the prime suspect. I swear, Lucas, I didn't mean to hurt her. I never wanted this, Sarah stammered, her face pale with fear. Lucas' anger was palpable, his body tense with rage. But just as quickly I spoke up, Lucas, please don't punish her. I had to intervene before Lucas did something irreversible. The plea worked. Lucas chose to show mercy, deciding to deal with Sarah more cautiously. Sarah was allowed to remain in the house, though it was clear that her influence had been irreparably damaged. And now Sarah had made her mistake. The prednisone had been planted in her room by me. I had eaten large quantities of sugar to artificially raise my blood sugar levels before Lucas' tests. This was no accident. It was part of my plan. I wanted Lucas to question Clara's death. How could someone so young suffer from such severe diabetes? In truth, Clara's condition had been exacerbated by Sarah's manipulation. Sarah had been secretly lacing Clara's medicine with prednisone for years, ultimately leading to her early death. The basement door, once again locked, now contained the answer Lucas had been searching for. He must have received the anonymous email I sent him, with all the evidence of Sarah's betrayal. If Lucas decided to report her to the authorities, Sarah would likely face a charge of intentional harm, which could carry a sentence of up to 3 years. But if Lucas ever discovered that his beloved Clara had been the victim of Sarah's machinations, he would stop at nothing to make her suffer. The pain that Sarah had once inflicted on me, now it was her turn to endure. Chapter 6. Lucas discovered his wife's disappearance and began a covert investigation. But he never could have imagined the truth. Anna was still alive, hiding right under his nose. I managed to pry open the locked guest room door. Although I was supposed to be the lady of the house, I had always been relegated to the guest room. The master bedroom was reserved for Lucas and Clara. To my surprise, the guest room was untouched, exactly as it had been the day I was taken away. Not a speck of dust. Impossible for a room that hadn't been used in over a year. In a drawer of the desk, I found a journal Lucas had left behind. More accurately, it was a series of love letters written to me. Anna, if I told you now that I love you, would you believe me? Anna, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you that way, but whenever I think of Clara's final moments, I can't control myself. Anna, please bear with me just a little longer. Once Clara's anniversary has passed, I'll let you go, and we can start over. In my past life, these words would have moved me to tears, binding me to Lucas even more deeply with his hollow promises. After all, despite all the suffering he put me through, I had barely escaped. And yet, when Sarah refused to pay the ransom, I had sold my stocks and, despite being ill, went to rescue him. In my past life, I was foolish beyond measure. This life I am wide awake. Now Lucas is nothing more than a madman in my eyes, physically abusive, yet writing these self-pitying notes to himself. All I want is for him to suffer endlessly. After spending months in the finance department, I discovered that Lucas Company's accounts were spotless. There was not a trace of illegal activity. This showed just how calculated Lucas was in his operations. Since I couldn't find any loopholes to bring down his company, I decided to strip Lucas of everything he held dear. I believe Lucas has feelings for me now. I need to deepen those feelings. When Lucas is completely entangled in love, I'll make him experience the pain of losing the person he cherishes most. Chapter 7. A woman's true strength lies in her inner qualities, the key to captivating others. As the opening of Crescent Plaza, a project developed by Lucas, drew near, there was an urgent need for investment and brand partnerships. I took the initiative to handle this task, negotiating with brand after brand. There were nights when I drank myself into oblivion, waiting for Lucas to come and take me home. With the alcohol in my veins, I would deliberately move closer to Lucas. Mr. Lucas, I don't want to just be a pretty face at your side. I would whisper softly in his ear. Over time, I began to feel the faint warmth in Lucas' heart slowly grow into a flame. The investment talks were a success, and on the opening day of Crescent Plaza, sales hit a new record for Lucas Company. In the midst of his triumph, I sent him a divorce agreement under Anna's name. The return address: Mountain Cemetery, Section B, Row 7, Plot 3. This was Clara's grave. Although I couldn't divorce Lucas as Anna in reality, sending this would still disgust him. Lucas didn't attend the evening's celebration. Instead, he went alone to the mountain cemetery, drinking until dawn. June 20th was Lucas' birthday. He came home early to celebrate with me. But when he arrived, the house was empty, save for a special gift I had prepared for him. I had written a farewell letter in Clara's name. After practicing for over a month, my handwriting was nearly identical to hers. I aged the paper to make it look like it had been written a year ago, and placed it in the most visible spot in the living room. Lucas, I hate you. You claim to love me, yet you never allowed Anna to donate her pancreas to me. For this, I gave up my role as your wife, enduring the role of a third party, receiving the disdain of others. And all your promises to me were broken. If I die, you are the sole culprit. It was you, Lucas, who killed me. Even in the next life, I won't forgive you. I included a note from myself as well. If you can hurt the ones you love, then Mr. Lucas, you don't deserve my love either. When Lucas returned, he would find that both people he loved most had left him with nothing but hatred. The pain from this would keep him tossing and turning through many sleepless nights. Chapter 8. Lucas called me several times, but I refused to answer any of them. But I didn't block his number. Leaving just a glimmer of hope in someone's despair is the cruelest thing. I reached out to Cindy, my best friend from college. She was also the stockbroker I had trusted with my investments after I got married. Emotional revenge on Lucas was just the first step. My ultimate goal was to ruin him financially. Though I had completely transformed into Emily, Cindy recognized me immediately when I mentioned an old college story. True friends can recognize each other, no matter how much they change. The stock Cindy had managed for me, even if sold in full, would only amount to $5 million. Challenging Lucas' $10 billion company with just $5 million seemed impossible. But that $5 million would be enough to buy me my entry ticket. The glittering evening was an event hosted by James. All the city's most influential figures would be present. Anyone at the event could help me bring Lucas down. But my target was James himself, the young heir to the city's wealthiest family. James had a project that required the cooperation of Professor Amy from Harrison University. Amy was known for his integrity and dedication to research. No matter how many connections James tried or how much money he offered, Amy refused to work with him. What James couldn't achieve, I could. Chapter 9. Lucas discovered that I was the person behind Long and arranged a meeting. After more than a year of avoiding him, it was finally time for us to face each other. I chose Fragrant Cafe as the meeting place. During the time Lucas pursued me, I often stayed up late working on projects, and he would always bring me a cup of coffee from this cafe. Now, returning to this familiar place, I wondered if Lucas would remember the wife he had forgotten. Lucas, always impeccably groomed, now had stubble around his mouth and appeared noticeably tired. It seemed that his failures in love and business had drained him of much of his energy. He started by appealing to emotions. "Emily, why did you leave without a word? I searched for you everywhere. Mr. Lucas, why would I stay for a man who couldn't care less about the life or death of his loved ones? I, Emily, have no interest in such a man." Lucas' lips twitched slightly. He had always been the golden child, adored by everyone around him. It was likely that no one had ever dared to humiliate him like this before. His gaze toward me was now filled with hostility. "Emily, are you sure you want to oppose me?" he asked, his voice tense. Finally, we got to the point. Our mutual animosity set the stage for the battle between Long and Crescent Plaza. In an effort to retain customers, Lucas launched massive discount strategies. Yet despite his efforts, he could not prevent the loss of clients and brands. Once a thriving shopping center, Crescent Plaza became a ghost town within 3 months. I submitted my resignation to James and partnered with Cindy to launch Shining Dawn Fund. We sold fund products through Smith Bank, making $500 million in cash. With the collapse of Crescent Plaza, if Lucas wanted to make a comeback, he would need significant capital. However, given the unstable development of Lucas Corporation, banks would not easily approve loans. To raise funds, he would have to approach a securities company. Lucas sold 15% of Lucas Corporation's shares, and Cindy and I acquired another 15% from other shareholders. As the largest shareholder holding 30% of the shares, I called a board meeting. I proposed removing Lucas from his position as chairman. Then, I boosted Lucas Corporation's stock price in the secondary market and sold off all my shares. Late that night, the city's largest television station, YTV, aired a breaking news report. Crescent Plaza, a property of Lucas Corporation, has been found to have numerous safety hazards due to substandard construction materials. The safety issues at Crescent Plaza had not yet been publicly discovered, and such unverified reports would typically not have been aired. The night's anchor was an intern, Lily. 20 years ago, Lucas Corporation had been responsible for constructing the Warm Garden residential area. The project had faced a severe collapse due to poor quality materials. At that time, Lucas' uncle had taken all the blame and was still serving a prison sentence. Lily's father had lost his life in the collapse. After I anonymously sent the materials to Lily, she made the courageous decision to air the report, even though it meant risking her career. Government authorities investigated Crescent Plaza and confirmed that Lily's report was accurate. Lily successfully secured her position as a full-time reporter. Lucas now faced enormous compensation claims. The court granted Anna's divorce petition. Lucas had truly lost everything: his wealth, his position, and everyone close to him. Before I left Lucas, I met the real Emily, now Anna. She told me that after being reborn as me, she had spent a year in a sanatorium recovering from all my injuries. She had never imagined that anyone could be so heartless toward their own wife. From that moment on, we became kindred spirits, bound by a deep sisterly bond. Chapter 10. Lucas couldn't repay his debts, and various forces came after him for money. They even pursued him to my family's home. My parents had never liked me. They pinned all their hopes on my useless brother. After I got married, they saw Lucas as their new pillar of support. Every time I visited, they would urge me to treat Lucas well. They never asked how I was doing in the Lucas household. I was tortured and locked in the basement for a year, and they were completely oblivious. Yet every penny that went back to our family came from my stock trading, not Lucas. Now that our home was in chaos due to debt collectors, it was there just deserts. Andrew, my brother, had some skills. He managed to trace the connection between Shining Dawn Fund and me, and loitered around the company every day. Emily wanted to help me get rid of him, but Andrew was a tough character, and I feared she couldn't handle him. To get rid of this pest, I sought out two girls. Andrew had once been a fitness coach at a gym, where he often exploited his position to harass female students. Among them, the most severely affected were Emma and Olivia. They had reported him to the police. At the time, my mother forced me to give each of their families $1 million as hush money. Both families then buried the incident. It was the most disgraceful thing I had done in my past life. Now I needed to give these girls closure. The Shang Corporation invested in a YTV live broadcast show focusing on women's issues. The anchor was Lily, and Emma and Olivia were the first guests. After the show aired, the girls received over 1 million supportive messages online. Their courage to speak about their painful past inspired many others. More girls who had been hurt signed up to participate in the show. The show's popularity kept breaking records. More importantly, it heightened societal awareness of protecting girls' rights. Andrew was arrested for rape, and my mother ran around desperately, but no law firm dared to take the case. Because behind Emma and Olivia stood not just me, but James, the entire Shang family, and countless righteous netizens. Chapter 11. Having dealt with my own family, it was now time to address the matters of Emily's family. Like me, Emily never received her parents' love. Even before she was born, the whole family had been hoping for a boy. Despite the Emily family's poverty, they yearned for an heir to the throne. Upon learning she was a girl, her father abandoned her and her mother. Her mother fell ill during her postpartum period and passed away before she turned 40. Emily changed her own name from Ava to Emily. Emily, James, and I returned to her hometown. We arrived just in time for her aunt's 60th birthday celebration. A month ago, I received a call from Michael. He urged me to come home to organize a grand banquet for his sister. Michael idolized his sister, Sophia, and all family matters were decided by her. Sophia was a troublemaker who thrived on chaos. The miserable lives of Emily and her mother were largely due to Sophia's meddling. At this moment, Sophia was proudly wearing a giant red flower, mingling with guests and receiving their congratulations. After a somber note played, the dishes began to be served. Tofu rice, white-cut chicken, cold shredded chicken, steamed fish. 11 dishes typically served at a funeral feast, all meticulously prepared by me. Carrying a basket of yellow and white chrysanthemums, I walked up to the stunned Sophia. "Happy 60th birthday, Aunt. Your niece Emily presents you with 2 flower baskets." Before Sophia could react, Michael overturned the table of dishes. He shouted at me, "Ungrateful wretch, how dare you curse your aunt like this? You should be grateful I'm only cursing her and not beating her. It was she who imposed those ridiculous rules of obedience on my mother when she first married into the family." After I was born, she was the one who said that a woman who can't bear a son is useless. Emily's eyes welled up with tears as she hid behind James. Her mother was her softest spot. You wretched brat, what are you talking about? Michael's hand flew towards me. Before it could strike my face, James kicked him to the ground. James was a black belt in Taekwondo. I brought him along to be my muscle. Chapter 12. Michael lay on the ground, clutching his chest and gasping for breath. I plucked a white chrysanthemum and tossed it onto his face. My dear father, don't worry, your turn is coming. The guests in the room all settled in to watch the drama unfold, none showing any intention of leaving. This suited me perfectly. I was curious to see how Sophia and Michael could possibly show their faces in this village after today. On October 28, 1999, the day after my mother gave birth to me, you kicked her off the bed. On May 17, 2002, you smashed an empty beer bottle over her head. On December 28, 2010, during a heavy snowstorm, you locked my mother and me outside. No matter how much we pleaded, you wouldn't open the door. On September 23, 2011, after losing money gambling, you took your anger out on my mother, slicing a 5-centimeter cut on her back. Michael, there are many more incidents like these. Do you really want me to recount them all? These were likely long-held grievances for Emily. After being reborn as her, the first memories that flashed through my mind were these. You. Michael clutched his chest, unable to form a complete sentence for a long time. He suffered from severe hypertension, and today's emotional outburst was taking its toll on him. How did the Emily family end up raising such an ungrateful wretch? Sophia resorted to her usual tactics, crying and making a scene. Aunt, on such an important day, why isn't your son here? My words sparked murmurs among the previously silent guests. That's right, I heard Sophia's son went to a prestigious university. After graduating, I think he stayed on at some very important bank. Sophia's son was a lobby manager at Shang Bank. 2 months ago, he was caught leaking customer information. To avoid prosecution, he signed a $2 million debt repayment agreement with the Shang Corporation. Currently, he was scrambling to raise the money. In a month, if he couldn't repay the debt, Sophia's house would belong to the Shang Corporation. Seeing the debt agreement brought by James, Sophia clutched her chest in pain. The sound of an ambulance grew louder as it approached. Michael and Sophia both fell ill simultaneously, illustrating what a devoted brother and sister they were. After leaving the Emily family, Emily's stern face finally broke into a smile. Thank you, Anna. You're welcome. Given this chance by fate, we should redeem each other. Chapter 13. Debt collectors relentlessly pursued Lucas, attacking him whenever they could. Lucas ended up with a broken leg and 2 fractured ribs. The Lucas family mansion was auctioned off according to the law. In the basement, Sarah was finally discovered, barely clinging to life. Her body was covered in wounds, some festering with a foul odor. Before she died, Sarah testified to the various atrocities Lucas had committed against her. The court convicted Lucas of murder and sentenced him to death. Before the execution, I took Emily to visit him. If he was going to die, he needed to understand why. I also wanted to reveal a truth he had never comprehended. In high school, the ringleader of those who bullied him was Clara. Later, she saved him only because Sarah had pleaded on his behalf. Clara claimed to love him because she saw him as wealthy and gullible. During the 10 years she stayed by his side, she used his money to support her high school boyfriend. The person who truly loved Lucas was Sarah. She fell in love with him at first sight, but he had fallen for her sister instead. That's why Sarah harbored such a deep resentment towards Clara, resentment strong enough to kill her. Lucas had never seen the truth. He blindly loved Clara, who used him, and in doing so ruined both Sarah and Anna. You're lying, Lucas' voice trembled. This truth hurt him more than death. After you die, I will have you buried next to Clara. Since you love her so much, let me help you be together in death. Anna, you venomous woman, you're a snake. Lucas' curses echoed in the visitation room. Even if I am venomous, it's because he and Sarah pushed me to this point. I once gave up my proudest dreams, wanting only to spend my life with him. He shattered my dreams and drove me to the edge. He underestimated the strength of an associate professor of economics. Previously, I tolerated him because of a foolish love. Now that I no longer love him, eliminating him was effortless. Chapter 14. After dealing with all my enemies, I handed over Shining Dawn Fund to Cindy. I had my own aspirations and a deep love for my research career. Under the identity of Emily, I only held a bachelor's degree. To return to Harrison University as a lecturer, I needed to further my education. Before her rebirth, Emily had written a journal filled with her dreams. She wrote about wanting to see the ocean, ride a hot air balloon in Gorham. I started preparing for my exams and met James, who had been waiting for me in the library. "What are you doing here?" James placed a cup of warm milk in front of me. "Emily, there are 300 days until the preliminary exam. Can you give me a chance to get to know you during these 300 days? James's love was different from Lucas. He didn't use concern as a pretext to cling to me. Instead, he showed up whenever I needed him. He didn't possess Lucas' sharp mind or cunning. Most importantly, he was willing to give everything for me, even his life. On the first day of the exam, as I walked out of the hall, I saw Michael's furious face. After my last confrontation, Sophia had succumbed to her anger and passed away. Michael was here to avenge his sister. When the 10-meter blade came at me, it was James who shielded me. He was in surgery for a day and a night before he was out of danger. He was a clumsy person, even in the way he expressed his love. The night I received my acceptance letter, he proposed to me. With James, I finally understood what it meant to be someone's one and only. I saw the mountain as beautiful, and the mountain saw me as Emily. Although I wasn't truly Emily, our bond seemed like a divine intervention. I chose Amy as my mentor. His passion for research was something I aspired to. After graduating with my master's degree, I stayed at Harrison University to work. This time, I would walk the path of research to the fullest. I turned the story of Emily and me into a novel and serialized it online. It received a lot of positive feedback from readers. A film company even bought the rights. When the movie premiered, Emily and I attended together. Watching the actors on screen portraying our story felt both familiar and strange. In the end, in this life, we both lived our lives to the fullest. Epilogue. From James's perspective. 3 years ago, at an economic forum hosted by the Sean Corporation at Harrison University, James saw Anna for the first time. She was the youngest associate professor in the faculty. Though she still had a hint of youthful naivety, she was fearless in debates. Despite being only 3 years younger, he felt like a child in her presence. From that moment, the idle young master started learning how to manage the company. He began hosting the Glittering Evening monthly, hoping that one day she would attend. Whenever a project required collaboration with universities, he always chose Harrison University. But then Anna left her position. She got married to Lucas. James had heard of Lucas from his elders. They spoke of Lucas as a highly capable young businessman thriving in the commercial world. James understood that Lucas seemed more suitable for Anna. Less than 2 years after their wedding, the Lucas family faced numerous crises. Anna vanished, as if she had evaporated from the world. James sent many people to search for her, until he met Emily at the Glittering Evening. By age and appearance, they seemed unrelated. But James stubbornly felt that she had Anna's essence. Later, he worked with her on the long project and helped her establish Shining Dawn Fund. Every step Emily took was aimed at targeting Lucas. During the trip to the Emily family, James encountered Anna. This confirmed his suspicion that Emily was indeed the Anna he had known. Something had undoubtedly happened between Anna and Emily. James knew he couldn't ask yet. Neither the former Anna nor the current Emily had feelings for him. Emily's approach to him was merely a part of her revenge against Lucas. All he could do was stay by her side, offering her his heart openly. When Michael rushed at her with a knife, he didn't hesitate for a moment. He only wanted to protect his Lily. The day Emily received her acceptance letter, James finally mustered the courage. He said, "Emily, I like you." James would never be like Lucas, who didn't know how to cherish her. Being with her was the greatest fortune of his life. After Emily's novel was published, James learned how much the woman he loved had suffered. At the movie premiere, James sat behind Anna and Emily. Watching the two of them hold hands for support, tears blurred his vision. He silently vowed that from now on, He would cherish her even more and never let her be hurt again. Epilogue. From Emily's perspective. When Emily woke up, she found herself lying in a dark, damp basement. Her body was covered with wounds of all sizes, and even breathing was painful. She never expected to become Anna. Even more, she never expected Anna to endure such daily torment. In her past life, it was Anna who brought money to ransom Lucas. How much pain must she have been in then? The pain of being stabbed repeatedly by the kidnappers still lingered in Emily's chest. For a scumbag like Lucas, it really wasn't worth it. Taking advantage of the chaos in the Lucas household, Emily escaped from the basement. She wanted to find Anna, but her body was in too much pain. She had no choice but to find a sanatorium to heal her wounds first. She believed that she and Anna were kindred spirits. They would definitely find each other. When they reunited, Emily learned that Anna was conducting a series of retaliations against Lucas. She really wanted to hug this sister. She would do everything she could to help Anna. Later, Anna helped her deal with her father. In front of the entire village, she exposed the injustices her mother had suffered over the years. She couldn't think of any grand words to express her gratitude, only a simple thank you. Emily helped Anna file for divorce from Lucas. Afterward, she embarked on the long-awaited journey she had always dreamed of. Born in a small mountain village, she had never seen the ocean. She wanted to reclaim all the beauty she missed in the first 20 years of her life. After her travels, Emily stayed at Shining Dawn Fund, continuously learning from Cindy. She hoped that one day, she could become a strong woman like Anna. When she found out that Anna was writing about their story, Emily offered to help. Together, they recorded the fantastical lives of two girls.